Well, I first met Pat Hannigan when he came down from Timmins in 1954, and I don't know why, but the day was indelible and is indelible in my mind, because I think if you knew Pat, he wasn't a guy that liked attention on himself, and he came into the class in grade 11, and he was kind of embarrassed because he came in halfway through the period. I mean, this is amazing. This is over 50 years ago. But he got all kind of embarrassed, and you know, we knew each other marginally. He was playing hockey and I was playing basketball. And then he went off on his grand tour of hockey teams all over North America. And you know, I'd see his name in the paper periodically, etc. And then I got a call around 1990 from a group of Christians who were opening a refugee house down in Fort Erie. And I guess they invited me because I'd been writing in the Catholic paper, and we went there, and the evening started with a gospel reading, and Pat was reading the gospel. And I said, well, I can't begin because I think it's kind of amazing that Hannigan's reading the gospel and I'm speaking about it. And I said, I think God must have a great sense of humor because, you know, two jocks from St. Mike's are fairly serious about this story about Jesus and who Jesus is in our world today. And then when I heard what they were doing down there, this extraordinary work of welcoming people who had been suffering and buffeted all over the world, and were willing to put their own money up, and got some money from the St. Joe's Sisters to start a refugee house, I was really taken by this, because I've known a lot of sports figures, and I think many of them, their lives are over at 35. They never get past the celebrity. And that's what I loved about Pat, and it was amazing that after almost 40 years, a really great friendship developed over the years, conversations, and every year we'd have a reunion at the Balmy Beach Club, and Pat would come in and with his 1954 jacket, which didn't fit him anymore, but it was quite amazing that that we both had come out of you know, big Catholic families, and we're still struggling to incarnate this gospel that we'd received generally from our parents, because Pat came from a fantastic family. And it was obvious to me that he had been radically moved by the experience that he had shared with these people. And then on further conversation, it turned out that in the mid-80s, Pat had gone down to Nicaragua and seen the suffering face of Jesus in the Nicaraguan people, and came back and shared this with Lynn and the family and said, something's got to change, because when we see people living in such poverty but are living lives of fantastic generosity. Remember Pat telling me stories of sleeping in a place where pigs were walking around. This was a one-room hut, and the whole idea that we have so much in North America had profoundly rattled him. So over the years, as our friendship developed, I really saw that Pat was a guy who didn't talk much, didn't want any attention drawn to himself, and was constantly talking about the work, and would always drag me down to the Casa, where Lynn was running the Casa, and then there would be people from Colombia and people from Haiti, and the struggle that they had without a lot of support from the local church, except for the bishop, who was really marvelous. So my background is in journalism and theology. I really began to see Pat's life was Eucharistic, that he saw so many people that were broken in life, and he was a Eucharistic person. He wanted to share this brokenness, and was a very transparent and open person himself, and loved and admired so much these people and became friends with them. So that to me was a sign that he had really understood what the gospel was all about, and was struggling to live it. And I've always loved that line that St. Francis of Assisi said, He said, pray ceaselessly, and if you have to, use words. And to me, that really reflected Pat. What I loved about Patrick was that he was so comfortable with who he was. He exulted in conversation and the love of his wife, the love of his family, and the work that he was doing. He saw this as really meaningful.
My husband, Pat, really had very much admiration for St. Michael's. Enjoyed it very much, admired the priest that taught him, and he loved to reminisce, and anytime there was somebody that had anything to do with St. Mike's, they always would talk about the experiences and the great times they had, whether it be playing hockey, going to school, or just socializing with friends.
And, he'd head up to Toronto every Christmas or before Christmas and get together with a lot of the St. Mike's alumni from the 50s, and folks like Ted Schmidt and Les and Dick Duff. He always had a great time joking around with Les and a lot of the guys from Northern Ontario that would come down and just get together and spend an afternoon reminiscing. Gave him the opportunity to show off his St. Mike's jacket from 50 years prior that he still had. And it was always a great experience for me just to sit and listen in to all the banter back and forth and the good times that the whole gang had when they were at St. Mike's.
Well, that gives you a good snapshot of the type of people the Hannigans were.